Howdy, folks. It's evening, and I was just thinking about some stuff. And I've talked about this before with people, particularly Gabe and a few other people, but I think it's an interesting concept and it's worth thinking about. So if you've never read the book Brave New World, it's a really good book. I recommend you read it. It's got very pertinent info about what we're going to be dealing with probably for the next decade, so it's probably worth reading. But what's interesting to me about that book versus like a 1984 type book is that I think it covers the topics that it's trying to discuss in a much more nuanced way. So, like in 1984, you've got a main character that's just kind of, he's the odd man out. He's the black sheep, and he's fighting the power, man, fighting the power. But in reality, when it comes to large population control, the methods that are in that book really have never worked, and they just never will work. Whereas in Brave New World, I think the concepts it explores and the methods that they discuss are actually currently being used right now in not quite in a direct way yet, but we'll see if it happens. But what's interesting to me, and I'm gonna try and discuss this without getting too. I don't want to give away too much because this book is really good and you should read it, and it's got some fucking real good twists and turns. It is really good. You should read this book. Read Brave New World if you have not read it. I I implore you, please read it. Um, but without giving too much away, let me just summarize some shit here. So, in their society, it's stratified by class. So you start at epsilon being the bottom, alpha being the top. Within alphas, you got alpha minuses, which are like below regular alphas, and then alpha pluses, which are top dogs. The big boys. Without getting in too much into how the shit works, there's birthing chambers, and they do a whole bunch of conditioning to get people to used to their lives and shit, and it's all weird. But basically, no one can conceive, or at least the average person can't conceive, of being unhappy with their life because they're taught from the very beginning and through their own like the conditioning that they go through in the womb, because these it's not actual birthing like with a woman. They're artificial wombs that they're grown in and all this shit. So there's all this conditioning that goes on to get people used to their fucking positions. And because everyone it's all an assembly line type thing. Because everyone's the same, any kind of difference that's not really just like a surface level thing, like if you are more or less intelligent in any significant way, more or less beautiful in any significant way, people in your strata are going to look down on you. There's two characters in the book that I think are really important. There's a lot of important characters in the books, a lot of important moments, and it's good. But two important characters. You've got a guy named Bernard Marx, and the rumor around this guy is that in the womb that he was born in, they might have spilled a little bit of alcohol in it, on accident. Oops. And he's kind of like a small, frail, mousy type guy. He's the top. He's an alpha plus, but he's like a small, mousy, fucking dude. So he's kind of a pathetic piece of shit, but he's still amongst all these people that are like better than him, and he's really resentful because of that, and he's not really good with women, and it's a very hedonistic society. So like, he's denied the things that everyone in that society is, kind of just dealing with. You know what I'm saying? So he's very resentful for that. And early on in the book, it tries to present him as being as more of like a philosophical type person, where he kind of he doesn't like the objectification of women and how loose everyone is and all this shit. But later on, he has an opportunity to become, a higher class. Something happens to him where he has the ability to force people to like take him seriously and like pay attention to him, and he becomes very successful. And as a result, women want to be with him, and he starts being a fucking asshole, you know. And suddenly he's not too discontented with society after he's got all the bells and whistles that everyone else has. There's another character in the book called Heimholtz. Heimholtz? One of the two. Helmholtz Watson, Heimholtz Watson, something like that. And Heimholtz is the exact opposite of Bernard Marx. He actually is he's more beautiful and he's more inquisitive than the average person. So he's very successful with women, but he gets everything so easy that he just finds it boring and he wants to pursue more in-depth, like more complicated thoughts and concepts that are banned in their society at large because it causes the people to become upset and it causes them to think too much about the implications of their lives and things like that. So that's his thing. Bernard Marx and Helmholtz Watson are friends because they're both kind of malcontents with society, but for opposite reasons. And the interesting thing is that so Helmholtz obviously he sees past the shit. You know, he has the experience of the hedonism behind his back. He's seen it, he knows it, and he wants more. Not more of that, but like more to life than just that. Whereas Bernard is just resentful at the base fact that he's denied the same thing that everyone has access to. But because of their circumstance and because Bernard up to this point hasn't been in a position to be able to experience hedonism, they got along on that regard. But once Bernard Marx, gets the ability to become this fucking hedonistic asshole, he kind of completely alienates Helmholtz because suddenly he's too fucking important and he's like, he's got his mind in the wrong place. He thinks fucking Helmholtz is jealous of him. He's bragging, just pisses him off, so he just stops talking to him because he can't, Helmholtz just can't handle seeing his friend fucking turn into this fucking freak creature that's consumed by all the shit that he was just talking about how he hated it. But now all of a sudden he can partake in it, and now suddenly everything's fucking just great. Everything's just grand. Spoiler, it gets taken away from him, and that's a scene, but I'm not going to get into it because that involves other characters that I'm not going to talk about, that give the book even more depth, which again is why I like it a lot more than 1984. But I think something that people need to be careful of when they consider being discontented with society at large. Are you discontented with the way that people act, the way that things are, and just the status quo in general because you're jealous of how people are? Are you a Bernard Marx? Or can you see past it? Are you beyond it? Are you a Helmholtz? I think, especially in the way the book is structured, I'm giving an incredibly specific, simple overview of this wonderful long book. But the way that the society is structured and the way these characters are built is so fucking... I love the dichotomy it explores because it's very easy to be discontented with society at large in real life or in this fictional world where... And the thing about fiction is it gives you a platform to kind of... It lets you kind of... You can be hyperbolic and it doesn't seem ridiculous because you're presenting an idea. You know, a person isn't either a Bernard Marx or a Helmholtz Watson. Everyone possesses some traits of both if they're a malcontent with the way things are running. But I think the concept that is explored in the dichotomy is the purity of heart in addressing problems of society. And it's really important that you ask that of yourself. If you are unhappy with your fucking lot in life and you're looking to blame society at large, look in the mirror. Is it really that? Or are you just not getting the best end of the deal? Are you jealous? Because if that's the case, you got to look into your heart, man. You really got to look, because you know, getting the hedonism, it feels good for a minute, but I guarantee you, it ain't gonna fucking satisfy you. And if it ends up satisfying you, I don't know. You shouldn't have been a malcontent in the first place. It's sad because a lot of people that I've talked to that are of a similar mind to me, but not necessarily to the depth that I've gone. There are a lot of them are Bernard Marxes. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to be straight up. And it's just sad to see. Because to be a Bernard Marx requires such a heavy ignorance of the self. And it's sad. So that's an important question to ask yourself, you know? Are you a Helmholtz or are you a Marx? See you guys.